Well, hi again. Welcome to the third part of the video lecture on the depression and crisis. And in this part, basically, I want to briefly talk more on the Minskian model, where we are talking about the how existence of the regular investors and the Ponzi investors take a role in this case, in this model. Well, basically, just briefly, if I will show you how this process will go, let's assume initially price is 100 and the dividend is 10. So that means a nice amount of 10% profit. And if the price previously was, let's say, 200 and fallen to 100, in that case, basically, you don't have any. Let's say you have 110 here, and previously the price was 200. In that case, the price change is minus 100, which means Ponzi investors will basically lose money. But let's in this case, basically, you will have no Ponzi investors investing in the stock market. You have rather regular investors investing in the stock market who care not for B minus A, they rather care for D over P, which is dividend divided by price. But let's move on and let's now assume the price has increased to 500, an extreme amount. Well, this will decrease the profit rate to 0.022% if you are a regular investor. So regular investors will certainly go out in this case. Well, the Ponzi investors basically will be able to profit a lot from this case. But note that again, well, in order for the price to increase, prices are not independent things. You need to have continuous new buyers who are willing to buy that stock for that now higher, now the price which has become higher. Why do they buy? Because they think the price will go even higher. But in the end, the prices will be so high that no one, even if they still think that they will be able to, the price will go even higher. They just won't be able to buy that stock at that high price. And that's the turning point for a Ponzi investment. If it is successful to keep all investors in, it might have an earlier turning point if just investors lose their trust to the Ponzi scheme. That might also be possible. But in some cases, the whole stock market might turn, and according to Minsky, whole stock market actually continuously turn into a Ponzi scheme, and then turns to a regular investment scheme, and then back to the Ponzi scheme, basically. How about the banking system? Well, when you're at the banking system, when Ponzi investors are out, basically, the number of investors, many people will get bankrupt, so people won't have enough. The number of people who want to invest will be low. As a result, the interest rate will be relatively low. However, once the stock prices starts to rise, everyone will rush to buy those stocks, and basically they will just care for the price difference they will get. So they won't care for the for dividend divided by price. So they will buy a lot of money, let's say $500 for and so and they won't care if the interest is high, because they will think they will get even higher money by buying that stock, because the price will go up. But which means that now the interest rates might go up, and they might go so much up for a person who buys lends money from the banks. Just for a regular investments, the dividend they got might not anymore cover their basically even the interest they will pay to the bank. Now, especially for the people who don't have money, there is no hope for basically regular investment. They cannot borrow from money from the bank and then do regular investment. And in the end, basically, of course, because the Ponzi investors will go bankrupt, the banks will also go down because they won't be able to pay their money, and in return, the companies will also go bankrupt. And as a result, I mean, initially the interest rates will be so high because they need money from the people to get to the bank, so they also need to increase the money interest rate for the lenders because they don't want their money to go out. But after that, the banks will go bankrupt, but the investors will go out of the business. As investors will go out of the business, that will in the end dominate, and the interest rate will start to fall to a relatively low value, which will allow the regular investors to re-emerge. What about the state? Well, state might sometimes come and save the Ponzi investors, but if it saves the Ponzi investors will just continue to do their Ponzi scheme investors. They will so the price bubble will continue to rise to even higher point. And if after each bankruptcy, state will continue to bail the Ponzi investors again and again and again. For the state will need increasingly more funds to do that. And there will be one point the state won't be basically able to save the Ponzi investors anymore, and at that time there will be now you will experience a crisis of both the financial markets and the state at the same time. So in this case, actually, Minsky is very Marxian because state can save the system, but initially, but by saving the system, you just postpone the crisis, and the crisis will be more heavy. And he gives the examples. He gives the name. He wrote a famous book on this issue, and he gives the book the famous name "Stabilizing an Unstable System." So let's go down. So Minsky is actually well taken in the Marx. So he describes the financial markets and financial layers basically successfully, but basically by taking the more other explanations of the crisis in Marxian school, we might take Minsky rather like an economist who is describing the surface layer waves in the economic system. While you might easily have a second layer, I mean, you might have a second layer, but while going to those second layer, you might have also smaller crises. So if for other reasons, other types of investments are not any more profitable for you, you might very well more inclined to get most of the profits from the stock market. In that case, the intensity of the stock market crisis will be higher. Which means actually there might be another wave, and though that wave might make at certain periods financial crisis much more severe than other periods where financial crisis might be mild because most of the companies might be getting most of their profits from the financial markets, but from their actual production. So, in order to describe Marxian crisis, actually, there's an analysis of different Marxian crisis theories, and that analysis basically uses this equation. Let me open a word like software in my Mac. So this is the profit rate, this is profit amount, and then K is the amount of capital. And he describes profit rate into three segments. Z is the potential output. So potential output over capital. This is actually giving you the maximum amount of profit the capital can get. If all value produced is taken by the capital, plus the capital can have full realization of its surplus value. Z over Y is the actual output divided by potential output. This is the realization. So it shows how much of the product that is being produced is actually sold, how much value that's actually produced is actually realized. And then you have P over Y, the actual output, the output that's actually produced, potential output, and P, which is giving you the profit share. So how much share the capitalists are getting from the actual value that is realized in the market. So all of these actually, well, the author did not actually divide the profit rate to this component just for fun. He thinks that all of these factors are actually addressing one of the major elements Marx has described related to crisis. P over Y is actually the profit share is related to the unemployment rate and reserve army and the fluctuation of it. Y over Z is related to realization problem, and Z over K is related to the falling rate of profit and rising working composition of capital problem, basically. And when you go down, well, combining two of these factors, the profit share and the realization problem, you got one crisis model in Marxian economics, and that's the Kaleskian model. Remember, we have seen Kaleski in the unemployment part. This is the part where we see again. And Kaleski was one of the important economists who has developed the crisis theory. And in that sense, people are also thinking that he's close to Keynes, and some Keynesians actually even think that he's Keynes before Keynes. Actually, he describes what Keynes has described in a much more clear and more sophisticated way, basically. But he has a Marxian education, and he was considering himself as Marxist. By the way, he is Polish, but he later migrated to England, and before he migrated to England, some of his works were unknown. And in Marxian camp, some people think he is actually Marxian Keynesian, or not actually at the borderlines of the Marxian economics. But I actually respect a lot to those people who are at the borderlines of the Marxian economics. I think those people are basically the people who are actually pushing Marxian economics to further to its limits, and they try to developing Marxian economics. So staying comfortably in the borders that are drawn is not a way to develop a school in economics, in my opinion. So I respect Kaleski, and basically I have also other economists like him in this course who are also at the borders of the Marxian economics. Well, anyway, so degree of realization and distribution of income is basically what Kaleski has used to construct this model. And basically, well, again, we have four stages on which the Kaleskian cycle is constructed. And basically, those cycles are related to the realization, profit share, basically. But we are getting close to the 15 minutes. To describe them comfortably, I would like to finish now, and I basically would like to continue in the fourth part of this lecture. So see you then.